Mother is, I would say we should be labeling ourselves as mothers from the moment when we actually start feeling that we able to have space in our bodies, our heart, in our life for someone else.
Hey everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Entering Motherhood, a podcast dedicated specifically to new moms going through this amazing journey in life. I'm your host, Sarah Bilger, a postpartum nutritional coach / mechanical engineer. And as always, I'm so excited to be here with you and share all of the information I've been lucky enough to obtain since becoming a mom. In this episode, we speak with Aneta Grabiec about our hormones, female well-being, fertility, and when she believes the transition of entering motherhood truly begins. Hello and welcome to Entering Motherhood. I'm super excited to have you here and really get talking about, our fertility and hormones and really how that is a part of entering motherhood and where that leads in our postpartum journey. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you, go ahead.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Hello, Sarah. Very privileged to be a guest here today. My name is Aneta Grabiec. Where do I start? I work under the name the Wellness Designer because I'm a psychologist and nutritionist and detox toxicology expert. I'm a mindfulness facilitator, and most of all, I'm the female hormone expert. And this, as we know, takes us very closely onto female body, female well-being, and fertility. And if you ask me, because I know the podcast is about fertility and postpartum and conception, preconception, this in general wasn't my intention. I have always been interested in hormonal well-being, and as a nutritionist, I mostly work with women to help them to feel better in their bodies and also um, feel more confident about themselves. Because when you feel better in your body, then you very likely look better. And then it all together affects your physical, mental well being. And then, as a side effect, my clients, mostly age 35 plus, even what was 146, they were getting pregnant. They were getting pregnant. They never told me when they were coming to see me, and they were working with me that pregnancy, fertility, that was their journey, that was on their agenda. They just came with either weight loss or emotional eating or whatever hormone imbalance, and we would work on it. And suddenly they would tell me that we've been trying for 6 years with IVF or anything else, and then we've managed that everything that was going in the body, we brought their bodies into optimal state and mind. We have to talk about mind today as well. And they were conceiving, which was very interesting. This fascinated me, and I started studying and digging more into how and why that me working on physical, emotional well-being helps others to conceive. So this was the beginning of that very interesting chapter of my life, and currently probably 90% of my clients are female age, not even 35, I would say 37, 47, who are trying to conceive naturally. Very often they've already had the medical intervention, IUI, IVF, and other forms of support to help them conceive. And because it didn't work out for them financially, emotionally, and also the body has been all over the place with all the induced hormones and medicaments, they would like to slow down as bring their body back holistically into the optimal state of health. And and from there, from that state of optimal health, for most of the cases, good things happen. So they conceived and they either are pregnant now or they've already had babies, which obviously makes me very happy.
That's amazing. I mean, I truly feel, when we're talking about entering motherhood, I do like to focus on, the postpartum period, but I think, we get there from the beginning, like we enter motherhood when we're starting to try to conceive and really working on our fertility and everything. And especially, for those moms that were trying IVF or other forms and things like that, they may have had a few losses and things and such. And like I still consider those women mothers, like it might have only been a few weeks past conception or things like that, but they are still a mom and they're still on this journey and they're still in that postpartum period if they have had that happen. So I think what you have been doing is really amazing and beneficial for women that are really trying to go a more natural holistic way and transition into motherhood in that way. So it's interesting too, that you're working with women that are older. Like,
And correction here, Sarah, they're not older, they are mature, they are wise and mature.
yeah, I guess like, like traditionally you think sometimes like, oh, I'm 35, like it's not going to work out for me. And that's amazing that you're still able to work with women, that it's not, that age limit is not something that's a factor. And so I'm really interested to just hear, like what you're focusing on and what's going on with our hormones. And, you said mind and body. I think mindset is definitely something that's really helpful in transitioning through this period as well. And so where do you really start?
It's beautiful what you said, and I'm just going to mention, as you said, honoring motherhood. Yes, for anyone, I wouldn't even say that you have to go through miscarriage, chemical pregnancy, stillbirth, maybe abortion, termination for the reasons to be recognized as a mother. I would even say women who have been dealing with undiagnosed fertility, as the medical term is, who haven't been able to conceive at all. I still consider them mothers, and I hope they do as well, because they came with this desire in their body, in their mind, and find that space in their life to become a mother, to have a physical child in their life. And it hasn't happened yet. And I truly believe that if we start living, I'm also NLP practitioner, so it's a neuro linguistic programming and positive psychology. So if we really, really want something, we need to start believing and living with it. So I encourage everyone who has been on a fertility journey and the journey hasn't come become fruitful yet, that we start living and accepting ourselves as mothers, because this shifts the energy, this shifts many things. This shifts how we look at our body, how we look at our nutrition, how we charge ourselves as recharge, as time of rest, time of sleep, how we connect with ourselves. So mother is, yeah, it's, I would say we should be labeling ourselves as mothers from the moment when we actually start feeling that we able to have space in our bodies, our heart, in our life for someone else.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's such a good point. How you said it hasn't happened yet. I think that's such a good mind frame to put yourself in and say, I am a mother, like I just haven't had my child yet. And being able to say it in that way, I think it's very positive way of thinking.
It's the only way, I have to say. And I know it's so easy to beat yourself up. If you I don't know, if you haven't you put yourself on the agenda, and you know that age is catching up with your fertility, and 6 months and 1 year and 18 months and 2 years, and what's wrong with me, or perhaps few miscarriages, or some others way of losing that pregnancy, and you're beating yourself up and you put the blame on yourself. And first thing, when we talk about fertility, there is about 40% cases these days that it's due to sperm. So I always say, please, that is if you conceiving with a partner, with a male partner. Different story when we've got sperm donors, but please put that in mind. About 40% these days, a responsibility for not conceiving or not viable pregnancy, not live birth, is due to sperm quality. But also there are many factors, and sometimes there are little mind shifts I'm truly amazed by the fact that when I've worked with my clients and we've done everything on the physical level, and they still weren't conceiving, we start digging into that mental piece, because I believe it's easier to change your diet, to add supplements, maybe put you on acupuncture or any other things. But deeper work that requires the foundations, which is that optimal blood test, maybe checking your thyroid, checking your hormones, checking out, maybe losing a bit of weight, maybe putting a bit on weight, maybe managing your ovulation, your menstruation, so it becomes nice and regular monthly flow. This is easier to manage than our mental state, energy, and attitude we've got towards ourselves and towards the whole process of fertility. So all these aspects are very important, and I truly believe that emotional state is actually the most important. So the language we're using, so up until now, that hasn't happened or hasn't happened yet. It's a totally different way of the energy we're sending. And if any of you has read the book about the spirit babies, and I truly recommend that book, you will also notice and you will know that the baby is actually choosing you. That very particular baby is choosing you to become their mother. So that baby is actually assigned to you, is waiting there because they've got a job, the business to do with you for mutual personal growth. And that baby is waiting for you when you open, when you unfold, when you actually relax. I know you might be thinking, okay, I need to get that much savings. I need to move into the bigger house. I need to get different car. And then you've got the to-do list very long. But that baby really doesn't need that. That baby needs to know that you've got that contentment with yourself. So, if anything, start with some personal self reflection and that maybe some personal development journey, maybe catching up with the relationship you had with your mother, your parents. And I had that beautiful expression one day, mother yourself first. Okay, we all of us, each of us, we've got this broken piece that came from the memories of the past event that happened to us. And we, especially women, we love to shame and blame ourselves for not being slim enough. I haven't met a woman yet who would say she's slim enough, right? So not being slim enough, not being pretty enough, not being good enough, not being talented enough. We love doing this to ourselves. And I just would love you to pause and notice that you're great. You're really amazing. And this baby's not gonna look if you size 8, if you anything else that you think is not perfect about you. That baby doesn't need that. That baby is looking for that connection, for that contentment you've got with yourself and for the joy you taking from your life, the way you live your life, the interests, the passions, the hobbies, how you say yes, how you stop maybe controlling things, and how you spontaneously adapt, because life is mostly about us adapting to the events that happened. How many times we maybe wrote ourselves a beautiful script of what's going to happen every given month, every given year, and suddenly life is showing you a finger and it's laughing at you, right? And the whole plan falls apart and we're starting from scratch. And so this baby needs to know that you're flexible, that you're adaptable, that no matter what, you okay, because this is very attractive for them. See, I told you, Sarah, I will be waffling away because I'm so passionate about the subject. So I guess better if you come back to some questions.
Yeah, I mean, like that's amazing. And I think it's something that sometimes we truly overlook. And I think, I have gone through such a journey of my own and really tapping into that personal development and looking at myself and things like that. And this transition more so happened, after my daughter was born. And I was really kind of like, who am I? Like, what's going on? And like, I almost felt like I needed to play catch up for like, here was this baby that was ready to show me all of these things. And I was kind of like, still, yeah, like having so much that I needed to do for myself. And I think that is such a vital part of entering motherhood and really just, self-reflecting, personal development, and just trying to, like you said, mother yourself and really just focus on that, because it is so overlooked sometimes. And occasionally we'll have those thoughts of, oh, this is just silly. Like, it must just be something else. It must be some physical aspect that's not hitting the mark. And so we ignore that and we don't focus on wanting to, tap into that spiritual side and really focus on our mindset and grounding and taking the time to do that self-discovery work. And I think that that's like step one, like really just allowing yourself to get to that point of relaxing and resting in the thought of, maybe this does have a factor on my fertility or what's going on with my life.
So wise what you said, Sarah. I just talk um, from the experience of my clients now. That's exactly what you said, and I fully understand that on average, a client that comes to me 37, 39, and they got into that race with the time, which is okay. We track ovulation every month, and we get into baby dancing. I take all the supplements, and I stopped drinking, and I stopped enjoying life, and just like there's nothing else to do, and I stopped exercising because I don't want to overdo anything, and I'm doing everything right. And what's wrong? And when I listen to them, when I hear them, and I said, the wrong thing is that you've got no joy in your life. And yes, I understand why you're so fast tracked and you're so concentrated on every month. You don't want to miss a month because it's missed opportunity. But actually, stepping back, allowing yourself a few months to just reset and go on a holiday, do something really nice or crazy that you wanted to do. Because as we know, for the first 20, 30 years of our lives, we do everything to prevent pregnancies, right? And we think how nice will be to be in a relationship when we actually can relax and not worry about that aspect of our relationship, which is contraception. And then suddenly, when we really, really want it to happen, the whole joy is gone because we're so fixed on the outcome, on the result, right? So when I work with clients, I guess because I connect psychology with nutrition, the most important for me is to listen and just slow them down, calm them down. Of course, it's very important to, if the things hasn't been working for you and you haven't been becoming pregnant or pregnancy hasn't been viable, it's very important to look into your hormones, into your blood test, to check what's going on with your thyroid, the progesterone, estrogen, maybe autoimmune conditions, maybe PCOS, endometriosis. That's very important. It's very important to boost your diet with antioxidants and all the fertility friendly food, and look into toxins in your life. But I'm always saying that's just, how you think about the whole process. This is even more important. So, yeah, you beautifully said because you learned from your own experience, right? So we be wiser when we actually have to go through this journey. But only then things start slowing down. And I stress that in my course. So I've got holistic fertility online course. The course is about 3 months, and every single lesson is just starting from the basics. The course is either a week, each lesson, or maybe longer, depends on the individuals. And they are sessions with me face to face when I really bring my clients onto track, because some clients really, they just want to see the final result. And the faster they go, the more they miss. Then the final result is even farther from them. So the slower, the faster, in a way that we pause, we allow ourselves to be ourselves and noticing what we've missed on that journey of, as we said, mothering ourselves, what we've noticed about ourselves, our resilience, self kindness, self acceptance, that maybe some things don't matter so much. And maybe instead of doing and turning our world upside down, changing everything, we can relax and concentrate just on this one aspect that needs to be improved.
Yeah, I love how you said the faster you go, the more you miss. And I think, especially in this day and age, like we are always trying to like go, go, go. And we feel like we just need to be doing more. And if we're doing all the right things and we're, propelling ourselves, like looking farther into the future, like that's the right thing. And that's how we have to be. But I think focusing more on the present moment and really taking time to slow down and, finding like a meditation or yoga practice or something along those lines to help build those muscles and do that for ourselves can really go such a long way. And I think, and then like jumping back to nutrition though too, like what happens, we think we do have our mindset in check. We are, putting ourselves in that frame of mind. You were saying fertility friendly foods. What are some, I guess, core foods that you have found that really help increase our fertility or get our bodies flowing more regularly or having our hormones better in check?
No secrets here. I won't be going into very detail because it's very unique and individual. But for everyone, if I can give one advice for everyone, it will be natural food. Natural food means real food, non-processed food. So I know it sounds, what does she mean? So I mean the food that you can actually maybe have 3 steps from the field onto the shop on your plate. Okay, that's the simplest food. If you buy the food from the supermarket, which is wrapped up, and then you can't even pronounce the ingredients, that means that's no food any longer. That's a food like item. So the best fertility food is the real natural food. And we know what it is. That will be greens, there will be vegetables, there will be fruit, there will be eggs. Sorry to break it, but vegetarian vegan diet is not the most optimal for fertility. Meat is recommended. That is not hormones induced meat, but organic, grass fed. Same goes for eggs, fish, something that looks natural. Probably limited dairy because dairy may cause inflammation. Also, it's prone to boost our estrogen progesterone ratio. So then whole grains, then seeds. So just really, if we think of common sense diet, and definitely not avoiding any food groups. So not thinking of keto, not thinking of just really using, because female needs some carbs, our bodies, for hormones, and to have certain percentage of fat in the body, we need carbohydrates. So thinking of eating the most natural food. So in other ways, eat only what your grandma would eat. Don't eat what your grandma wouldn't eat. So the food that hasn't existed yet, or food like products, this food should be avoided. That will be processed sugar, right? We probably see sugar in any processed food. There'll be food that expiry date is longer than few months. So coming to basics as much as we can. This is to start with hydrating our body, mostly with H2O.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's something that I've definitely found in my own experience also, like really just resorting back to those whole basic foods and figuring out like what my body's telling me and how my body's reacting and what's going on when I put different things into my body and how I'm fueling my body. And I think, my mood changes. I think just overall health and everything, like I can feel it. And I think like when you start to change your diet to the point that you actually can tell when you eat something that doesn't go with your body, that you feel worse, I think that's when we can really be like, wow, I'm kind of in this like prime state of eating. So when you do have something that's not in a line with your nutrition, you really notice it a lot quicker and faster, and you can kind of correct it. When you're not drinking enough water and you start to feel dehydrated or things like that, and when you really can, wow, hold on, like my head hurts a little bit, maybe I'm not getting what I need. I think that's what I have found to be, my optimal state of eating well, when I can really see that shift and that fluctuation in how I'm fueling my body in a way.
Very well said. And I congratulate you on this, Sarah, because in my course, any course on nutrition and that holistic fertility course, I talk a lot about being in tune with your body and your mind. So, exactly as you said, when you clean up your diet and move your diet into the best possible that serves you, then you can really understand your body. So, as you said, headache, dehydration, lack of energy, maybe lack of proteins, or maybe you haven't eaten for 6 hours and you're feeling that your sugar level is dropping. It's maybe if you're getting constipated, then have I had enough fiber? So it's so beautiful to connect. Also, I stress you mentioned meditation yoga. In the holistic fertility course, I offer yoga for fertility and mindfulness practices because I also like the mind to be tuned in. So we feel when there are any anxious thoughts, or we're feeling a bit of emotional discomfort, instead of jumping into these thoughts and allowing them to drive our day, we can notice, just like we notice, hang on, why am I having headache? Am I dehydrated? So when you feel a bit emotionally uncomfortable, let's put it this way, then you can start having little conversation with those emotions, like, hang on, why am I feeling anxious? What happened to me yesterday? Or maybe because I'm waiting for, I don't know, maybe my PMS is coming, or maybe because of this event, or maybe because someone said something or did something and I got upset and this was a trigger. So it's beautiful to see how you can stay in this neutral state emotionally and learning more about yourself, because I believe the more trained you are in that neutrality, your kids, and I hope you all have beautiful, healthy children, sooner or later will have a tantrum, right? It's 2 year old, 3 year old, 4 year old, the older. And you being that parent for them that they need, that they desire, you need to stay in that neutral zone as much as possible for your sake, for their sake. You need to learn how to love them wisely, right? So, not always saying yes, but being able to say no, being able to be consistent with your parental choices, with your parenting, being strict and being loving, answering why, that's whatever sort of punishment you need to use. So, you need to be very well trained in that neutrality, because kids will exercise us in any way, right? Trying to get the finger and then the elbow and even more. So, you need to constantly bring yourself back into that super extra zone of being chilled and neutral. So this is what I teach in the course as well, and therefore I recommend mindfulness practice for anyone I know, really.
That's amazing. Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. And so, how can you kind of, or how much information do you know, sort of, after we do conceive, after there is a baby, we are pregnant, what is going on with our hormones in that aspect? Because, we aren't getting our period, that has been suppressed. How is that kind of regulating our body differently? Are we still having cycles that are just not visibly physically being seen?
There's two running hormones, estrogen and progesterone. And estrogen is the one that we've got the feminine shape, and the one that pushes luteinizing hormone and follicular growth. So we ovulate, but then progesterone is taking over, and then progesterone would eventually drop, and our uterine lining is shedding off, and we menstruating. However, when the conception happens, progesterone is rising. That means sore boobs, that means constipation, that means moods, that means nausea. So that progesterone is rising and running the show up until the placenta is formated. They say about 8-9 weeks. However, we know how long some ladies can feel sick. 12 weeks, so kind of like the first trimester, if we think. So the body knows, the body is not shedding the uterine lining, and it's not ovulating because there is a viable pregnancy. Okay, but our body is driven over with the hormones until sort of, for the lucky ones, second trimester, for others around 20 weeks, right? I'm giving the worst case scenarios. Of course, there were ladies who had never felt anything, right? They're just like, fine, no nausea, nothing, I'm feeling great. However, for most of the cases, there is something going on. So the progesterone needs to settle, so placenta takes over. And about from the second trimester, things are looking smoother. They call second trimester the honeymoon, because the body size and shape is not yet uncomfortable. There is not so much pain in the pelvis, in the groin area. and the things are fine. Just the third trimester has a bit of discomfort because there is extra weight. And I know you're interested for the mothering part, which is postpartum. And we know that especially when we're breastfeeding and that hormones are still all over the place. There is a lot of anxiety. There is a lot, am I good enough? How am I going to manage? There is a lot of staying up at night. The body, the fourth trimester, the body still is going through a lot and hasn't recovered yet from conception, from creating new life for the 9 months, from delivery, whichever way it happened, right? And suddenly, boom, we're fully responsible for new life, and we sleep whenever, we eat whatever, we're running on caffeine and sugar. Okay. And very likely that our lifestyle, that preconception, which I teach our ladies, and that whole pregnancy shows us how we're going to look after ourselves when we postpartum. Because the lady who took great care of herself, eating a lot of fiber, eating a lot of folate, drinking a lot of water, antioxidant diet, reducing caffeine, she will have those good habits for postpartum. That means she will have a lot of energy. She will be shedding off that weight, so coming back to her natural shape. And I know it's very important for many women because confidence drops as well, right? So she will take care of herself. She will know she needs to hydrate when she's breastfeeding. And mostly because she's done that mental attitude practice, she will know that she needs to switch off and find time for herself, to catch herself, find herself and connect with herself in that new role as not only a mother, because it's so easy to extend yourself to that baby, forgetting that you were a human being and a woman before that baby turned up in your life. So it's a very nice, continuation. So that's why that preconception tells us exactly when we're gonna land out as mothers of the newborns.
That's amazing. So that's something that you also do in the fertility course. You discuss postpartum as well.
Exactly, because it's so, as our body, it's all synchronized and connected. There is no like the chapter, okay, I'm stopping here and I'm continuing with something else. No, they're very similar principles, still taking care of ourselves, still feeding our mind and our heart with that self-love, kindness, acceptance. Acceptance for the way we feel, acceptance for our emotions, and also big stress on connecting with others in a very similar situation, because loneliness, especially in the time of the pandemic, right, it's a horrible time to be left with a newborn on your own, especially if it's your first one. Maybe not having family around, not having friends, not having anyone with similar experience. So very important to connect, very, very important.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's amazing. I'd love for you to really give our listeners a way of being able to reach you. And, if they've enjoyed listening to you and want more, where can they find you? How can they learn more about your course? Things like that. So if you want to go ahead and give us information on all of that.
Sure, it'll be my pleasure. So the easiest way is to find me on social media, which is Instagram, Facebook, the Wellness Designer, and I post a lot of free content, which is influence inspired by the clients I work with. So you find a lot of there. Then if you're interested, I got few ebooks regarding nutrition on the budget, which is a beautiful way to balance your hormones and eat, because we always think healthy eating is very expensive and we give up. So I'm proving through the work with my clients that you can eat on the budget very healthily. So there is an ebook with about 30 recipes for any season that balances your hormone, works with your thyroid, work for PSS and PCOS, endometriosis, and prepares your body for conception. I also, because I'm a chocoholic, I love chocolates. And many years ago, this is how my journey started. When I was a student, I was able to spoon a jar of Nutella. I swear I was able to do that. And I noticed that that's probably not good for me. And this is when my dietitian journey started. So I started creating my own chocolates. So, and then it made me also as well to write a book on healthy chocolates recipe about cacao. And cacao is A superfood is fertility-friendly food. So I've got a book about that. And I've got another one, sugar, the food that everybody craves but nobody needs. Hmm. Nothing else needs to be said here, but sugar is the biggest addiction that heroin. So I was a sugarholic. So the book talks how you can slowly reduce the sugar intakes, how you could replace sugar with something that's healthy and tastes really good, and also what to expect. And they also recipes. So that's another quite interesting book, I would say. And I've got a course. So the recent course is Holistic Fertility, and you can find that course on my website www.thewellnessdesigner.com. So you find the course there. You can read about it. If you've got any more questions, you will find a email address on that website that you can reach me out. You can ask any questions. You can also send me an email via the social media. So either the Wellness Designer Facebook or the Wellness Designer Instagram. And I'll be happy to connect and help you in any way I can on your journey.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this conversation today and really just, like letting us know that there is a more holistic solution to the fertility journey and entering motherhood. So I really appreciate this conversation today and having you come on.
My pleasure. I always say the more we know, the better we do for ourselves and for others. So any opportunity to educate ourselves and others is just our duty to this world, to this planet, to humanity. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Well, this wraps up yet another episode of Entering Motherhood. I hope that you have found this episode helpful, and if you liked it, please share it with others who might also benefit from this information. If there's anything that you'd like to know more about, or maybe you know someone who'd like to be on the show, please visit my website, enteringmotherhood.com. I'm so thrilled to be going on this journey with you and getting the amazing opportunity to help moms during this postpartum experience. You can also now find us on Instagram and Facebook at Entering Motherhood.